Hey everyone, and welcome to Holding the Line with Got Your Six Counseling. I'm Peggy, and this is Brittany. This is a space where we get real about the shit nobody wants to talk about: mental health, life, trauma, healing, and everything in between. Sometimes we get clinical, sometimes we get messy, but it's always honest. Quick reminder, this podcast isn't therapy, and it's not a substitute for professional care. We're not here to provide therapy, diagnose, or treat. If you're struggling with mental health, please reach out to a licensed provider. You don't have to go through it alone. We've got your six. We're just two trauma therapists showing up as humans first, ready to have real, unfiltered conversations about the stuff that matters. We're here to break the stigma, share what we've learned from both sides of the therapy room, and talk about the challenges people face every day, especially in the veteran and first responder communities. Whether it's trauma, burnout, relationships, identity, or just getting through the week, we believe that these conversations matter. They deserve space, and that's what we're holding the line for. So let's dive in.
All right. Welcome back to Holding the Line with Got Your Six. I am Christina, and I am here with Adia from the Canines Consultant. Adia is a trauma-informed canine behaviorist, speaker, and founder of the Canines Consultant. With over 2 decades of experience, she leads a movement to redefine the human-canine relationship through connection, not control. Adia specializes in helping emotionally intelligent women step into guardianship with confidence, clarity, and compassion, whether in life, business, or leadership. Her work centers on behavior as communication and champions a future where dogs are understood, not just managed. She's also the host of the Behavior Matters podcast and the creator of Whisper Walks, which are fabulous, by the way, a revolutionary approach to healing through presence and partnership. So welcome, Adia, to Holding the Line.
Yes, Christina, thank you for that amazing introduction and thank
Of
you for having
course.
me.
Yeah, of course. So I want to tell everybody why I asked you on the podcast. So I met Adia about a year and a half ago now, I think,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
I had adopted my dog Winky, who was a very damaged rescue, still is. And I brought him to a 2 week board and train because, that was, I thought 2 weeks obedience, like we're good. I was told from the rescue that he was in foster, he was with a foster home, and that he was doing really well, and that, he was a little anxious, and probably needed to be the only dog in the home, but was like good with everybody. And I remember going to the foster to do like the initial meet and greet, and the foster was like, he's great with everybody, loves dogs, loves kids. We go for walks every day, like the best dog ever, right? And I remember he was like jumping up on me. You know how he does, right? Just this constant, like
Yes.
in your
Yes.
face, like nipping at my
Launching at
hands.
you.
Yes. And I was like, and I asked, I was like, what is this? And he's like, I don't know. He's never done that before. And I'm like,
Mm.
okay, that's really weird. Um, but fell in love with him. His name is Winky because he's only got one eye. And so he's a love. Um, but so I decided, yes, this is the dog I want. I'm going to adopt him. And I remember the guy had asked me how, like, I don't remember how we got on the subject, but he had asked me, do you work, or are you away from the home? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, I work, but I have a dog walker that's going to come, during the day to give him a walk. He's like, oh, you actually don't have to worry about him. I work 12-hour shifts in DC, which is like an hour and a half drive one way for him. And so I just lock him in the laundry room, and he goes out and uses the bathroom outside in the fenced in yard, and he's good.
Mm.
And I like did the math. I'm like, this fucking dog is by himself for 15 hours a day. No wonder he's launching himself at me?
Yes.
So
Yes.
I thought, perfect. I'm going to bring him home. I'm in the woods where he's going to have lots of place to stretch his legs. Shelby's going to come walk him. It'll be fantastic, right?
Whole,
And
whole
so,
plan.
God, I had a whole plan. Did that plan go to shit? So so 2 week board and train. Of course, they gave him the e-collar, which I get. And I had used an e-collar before and was like, this is great. I know how to do this. I know what I'm doing. And it just didn't work. And he was having issues with people. So continuing to launch himself at people, barking at absolutely everything, launching himself at me. He food guarded, he resource guarded. It took me 2 months, I think, to break the food guarding from him, and I got nipped at quite a few times. Um, and I was like really out of my element. I think I had him for about a year, I think, by the time I had gotten in touch with you.
Hmm.
And I had called several trainers, right, and was like, "Hey, we have issues, and these are the behaviors I'm noticing. He's barking at everything. He's like lunging in the car at other dogs. I tried to take him to the dog park once. We didn't even get out of the car because he was just losing his shit in the back seat." And every trainer I went to was like, "Oh, well, yeah, he's a rescue and he's a pit bull. You got to just keep him isolated from everybody. He's aggressive. He can't be around kids or dogs." And that just I didn't love that as an answer. And so a friend of mine had taken his dog, was taking his dog to you, and was like,
Hmm.
you've got to call her. So I did, and I remember in the like 15-minute conversation that we had, as soon as I got off the phone, I was like, I have found Winky's person. Like she is the one.
Yes.
And he has made leaps and bounds. Even like with us being not in the area, he has just grown so much over the last year and a half. And so,
And-
um,
yeah.
and the things that I'm learning and the things that I'm doing as a dog owner, and your approach to dog training, I think is super important. So, I want to tell people about it. And because you do a lot of work with dogs who've experienced trauma, we do a lot of work with people who've experienced trauma, and they tend to find themselves or
Yeah, they
pair up
mix.
with themselves.
Oh, yeah.
So wanted to bring Adia on so she could tell us a little bit about her story and how she got started, and then we can
Oh,
just
yeah.
wax poetic about how awesome canines are and how shitty,
Yes.
terrible dog owners are.
Yes. But I want to mention something. I heard you say that, you know, Winky has grown. So have you,
Why
you
I'm
know?
trying. I'm trying.
Yeah.
We are trying.
Yeah. You definitely have grown. And as you said, I don't want to go back to that. You know that analogy, misery loves company.
Yeah.
You know, people that have experienced trauma, they are miserable.
Hmm.
I've been one. They can be, and
Yep.
it seems like they connect with some of the most challenged dogs.
Yeah. Yep.
Some of them look at it's a problem to fix.
Yep.
There's something that's worse off than I am.
Yep.
And so in my line of work, oh baby,
Yep.
it is like oil and water
Hmm.
because they're trying to both emotionally depend on each other,
Yep.
and two people screaming at each other doesn't work. So,
Yep. Yep. He's barking
so
out the
that,
window, and I'm like, shut up, because I
yes,
can't deal with it.
yes,
Yep.
shut this up.
Yep.
You know,
Yep.
so that's what both of you are saying inside when you're
Yeah.
doing your shit. He shut up. He's
Yep.
doing his. So, but yeah, you hit the nail on the head. And a little bit about me. I definitely have had my go around with what people will call, the responsive or the reactives or the aggressives. And you probably see some movement on my end. Yeah,
I
I'm blurred, but you
do.
just see this
A
big
big
old
old
butt
dog
here.
butt.
I don't even know why I do the blur thing, but I think it's just stuck on here. I'm not tech savvy.
I know.
But anyway, um, but I started off as what they call old school. You know, the alpha roles and the control and the nose in the poo and don't get on that, don't touch that, don't bark, sit, heel, stay. Um,
Off,
but like with
down.
everything, yeah, off, down, just a whole list of no's or don'ts. And so I really started pushing myself to the do list for dogs. For me, I felt being a woman in this field, and not to talk race, than a Black woman in this field, it was definitely tough for me to really kind of dig in.
Hmm.
Things I wanted to be a part of, I couldn't because I was a woman, or they
Hmm.
didn't take you seriously. So they really wanted me to shrink in this field.
Yeah.
So for me, I said, okay, I took I knew how I connected with my own, and I didn't want to see that look on their face when I would scruff them, grab them, slam them. I didn't like that.
Hmm.
And for me, I needed to go new school. And so, um, I feel, and maybe I could be wrong, but I do feel like I'm one of the first ones that really began to start pushing the needle towards connection. And with everything evolution, it evolves. And so science, science, science. I started digging and digging and digging and digging and reading and researching. I'm a student of life, and I'm like, there has to be a better way. And so I just kept going to school. I went to school for human behavior, then switched over to animal behavior. Then I said, okay, I'm going to go be a vet. Then I didn't want to euthanize. This damn AirPod is killing me. I got small ears, so I was like, I can't just euthanize a dog because you tell me to, because I have to get a
Right.
euthanasia card. So fuck this. I'm going to go and understand behavior even more. And so I kept sharpening my tools, and I kept stacking my tool belt, filling up the box, and it really led me to bite rehabilitation.
Mm.
So when we talk about those people that suffer trauma, or the canines that suffer trauma, usually that canine is either close or has bitten.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so in a nutshell, I just felt like there was a better way to really start to understand trauma in dogs. And they are a lot like us, Christina. We have
Mm-hmm.
these conversations all the
All the
time.
time.
Um, the work that you do every day, some people may think it's crazy to say, believe it or not, is very similar to mine,
Mm-hmm.
being a trauma-informed expert or behaviorist or whatever
Yep.
they want to dub it. But things that you prescribed is as simple as stress-free activities to really get the brain going again in the right direction is the same thing I do.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, hey, your dog needs nature therapy.
Right.
It needs to get back to rewilding again. It's congested in this not population. It's congested in this domesticated space. Dogs to just sit like Winky 15 hours a day alone with no interaction or no type of
That blew my mind.
mental or emotional connection to anything
Mm-hmm.
is the dog that's screaming inside. So those launches, those are
Yeah.
screams. It's dysregulation. Um, and so I just, for me, where I am right now in my life after all these years, I definitely stand on my own, a lot in a category of my own. I'm the disruptor. I don't care. I say what I feel. I'm direct. Some people call it bitchy. I just call it, confidence. Know what I'm saying. I know what I'm doing, and I can help your dog.
Yep.
And a little bit about when people think of dog training. I don't even consider myself a dog trainer anymore. That is for the ones that are still trying to just teach your dog to sit.
Right.
I don't want to train the dog.
Right.
I want the guardian to connect with the dog.
Right.
And as I tell parents, I'm not here for you. I don't owe you anything. I owe your dog everything.
Yeah.
I'm here to make sure that he or she can stand up to what you need them to do as your pet. Right. But yeah, I'm just glad to be here because I think that we'll have a very good conversation as we really tap a little deeper into, people thinking, why the hell does she have a dog trainer, as people will call me, on the show? Oh, believe me, they're very connected.
That is so connected. So
They're
connected.
very connected. So if you
Yes.
guys, anybody that's going to be listening or watching, if you're looking for a therapist for your canine, that's me. That's pretty much what I do.
For
We
real.
heal.
Mm-hmm.
We lead emotionally intelligent guardians. There's
Yep.
not owners. We lead with respect, trust, connection, because that is the missing piece of the puzzle in today's world. Even with people.
Yeah. Well,
Like
and I
it's to the
think,
point.
go ahead.
No, you're good. I'm just rambling.
I was thinking, when you said that, I think, and this goes back to what we talked, about in the very beginning, the connection, how traumatized people find traumatized dogs, right? And we deal with this all the time in the office. I'll have a client come in and they're like, let me tell you about all my friends and how fucked up they are, or how fucked up my family is. And I'm like, but you're
Mm-hmm.
here to work on you. And it's easy
Mm-hmm.
to look outside of yourself and say, oh, look at this one-eyed dog who's a three-time foster fail. I'm going to go
Mm-hmm.
scoop him up and save him because it's easier to do that than save myself.
Yep.
Um, and I wasn't trying. I've always wanted a foster. So this is the first, a rescue. This is the first rescue I've ever had.
Mm-hmm.
I've always had bred dogs. Yeah. Wow. It's late. Yes, from a breeder. And so, so I've always had dogs from a breeder and, trained them from puppies. And this was, I got him at 11 months old and he shows up and now, oh, you're muted. me see if I can unmute you. I can ask to unmute. There we go.
I'm always breaking shit. I don't know what I did.
That's all right. We'll get there. At least we're recording, I'm just
Yeah,
saying.
we did
So
that. Yeah.
so, it's very easy to find the other broken
Yes.
entity, right? And reach
Yeah.
out. And then, we pour ourselves into this broken entity. And when I brought Winky to you, he could sit. He could
Mm-hmm.
down, he could off.
Mm-hmm.
He was obedient and he knew, right? My sister-in-law, ex-sister-in-law taught him how to shake, right?
Mm,
Like that was all the tricks, he's got that. He was
mm-hmm.
obedient, but he wasn't happy.
Mm-mm.
And as a result, I wasn't happy.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, when we look at how supportive, I know you and I have had the whole emotional support animal conversation and how
Mm.
they are emotionally supportive. I'm not signing a fucking letter so your pet chinchilla can ride on the goddamn plane with you. That's not
Right.
happening.
That part.
Anyways,
Yeah.
moving on.
Oh yeah. Oh, we could talk about that for
Oh my
hours.
God. And
Yeah.
okay, yeah, moving on.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to write an ESA letter for you, but I've also seen the benefit of like, and we have talked about, service animals, right? And how they can
Mm.
smell seizures and smell,
Mm-hmm.
diabetic shock and all of these really important things. And, we have more often as a practice been asked for service dog letters. And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes what the agencies are asking for is ridiculous. Can this person carry 20 pounds? I don't know. I'm not a physical health doctor.
Yeah.
How am I?
It's
I'm not answering that question, right? I had one letter that was like, "Oh, can this person financially care for the dog?" That's not my fucking problem.
yeah, that's a
Like,
bit
I'm here to
much.
tell you that they are emotionally in need of an animal. They
Yeah.
need this
They
dog.
can task. They
Right.
can task. They can perform a task.
Right. And
Yeah.
so, but we are getting more of those questions and more of those requests. And I think it's so important to have a conversation about, the benefit of animals, right? Proper animal guardianship. Because a lot of times when they
Mm-hmm.
can't get that, they go out and they get a Winky and then they bring it
Mm-hmm.
home and they're like, why is this dog launching himself at everything? Why
Yeah.
did he, and to his defense, like the cat attacked first, but why did he kill a cat? And it's because that's his breed and that's what he
He's a
does.
dog.
He's a
Yeah.
dog and that
Yeah.
cat launched at him first
Genetics.
and FAFO.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's super important to have those conversations and to also remind people that a service dog, like for PTSD, a service
Mm-hmm.
dog can tell you that you're anxious or tell you that you're having a nightmare all day long.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have the tools to regulate your own shit, all you're doing is spinning that dog up even more.
Yeah. Out of control.
Yep.
They're going out of control mentally. Yeah, and as you mentioned, that was a great way to put it. When you talked about the emotional support part, it doesn't matter. I get those calls or we get those calls. Hi, yeah, I got a Yorkie and I want it to be my emotional support dog. And I'm like, oh, he is emotionally
He
supporting
already
you.
is. So why'd you get him in the
Yeah,
first place?
yeah. Canines, people, hear me out. Your dog is already emotionally supporting you in some way. When you're sitting on the floor, ugly, crying, or when you're even screaming about something you're pissed off about and are just sitting at your side, or some of you scare them away.
Hmm.
That's emotionally disruptive.
Hmm.
But even when you're having your fits or your bouts of rage, as we call it, if you are truly connected with the dog, they will sit next to you and go through it. But if you have not connected and you throw that fit of rage or go through that motion, they will run.
Hmm.
So that should tell you something about yourself as well. But to me, I stand with you on that. I get that today's world is a real tough one to live in.
Yes.
We are all dealing with our shit. We are all barely making it. We're trying to make it up as we go now when we have plans because things are always shifting.
Hmm.
One day you can have your job, the next day you can't.
Hmm.
Goes away just like that. So there's a lot of heavy stuff going on right now. But I really need people to stop overusing that term. If your canine can't task for you, even as emotional support, meaning that they can detect when you are about to go into a panic attack, they stand in front of you when you are about to have an outburst to calm you down. They paw you. That's tasking work. They have to be able to do something for your emotional disturbance. not just get on the plane for free
Or
or walk through this
stay
or
in your
stay in,
apartment or go
yeah,
to
stay in an
Lowe's with you.
apartment.
Yep.
That's not that. There's too many people using this shit, and then other dogs are getting hurt from it. So
Hmm.
you're taking an emotionally disturbed dog into Lowe's that you're calling your service animal or your emotional support animal, and it's going after a true service dog doing a job.
Yep.
I've seen it firsthand.
Yep. We actually had that. So my dog that I had before him, Cammy, she was trained as a therapy dog. So she went through
Hmm.
the AKC's like good canine program and lots of training. She was phenomenal. She was such like the exact opposite of him. He's a fucking tornado, and she was like
I was
just
the
the
calm. She was
chillest
calm.
dog. Oh my God, she didn't care about anything. And so she would come to the office with me, right? And so she would climb up on the couch when I was processing trauma with one of my clients, right? And, they would pet her or they would snuggle with her or have their breakdown. And she would climb up there and they would just hug her and bawl. And it was
Yeah.
magic. And I remember there was a guy who had come in and he brought like a black lab or something with him. Right. And so Cammy was like, oh shit, there's a dog here. And I didn't, she got up from her bed in my office and she goes, tick, 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 tick out to the waiting room. And all of a sudden I hear this like growl and bark. And I was like, that's not her bark. And so I got up and like ran out and she comes running into my office. And I go out and there's some fucking guy sitting in my waiting room with a black lab losing its shit. And he's like holding it on the leash. I was like, what? Can I help you with something? And he's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm here to see so and so for my appointment. I'm like, you can't have a dog in here. Oh, it's my service
Yeah.
dog. I was like, the fuck it is. I don't mean any disrespect. Take the dog outside of my office because
That's
he almost
right.
attacked my dog. And there's
That's
no way
right.
that a service dog would ever do that. So
That's
you're all
right.
done. You can go leave him in the car.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
and I think like people, because I know you can buy that shit on the internet and yeah,
Everywhere now.
that's a
Yeah.
whole other
Yeah.
venting
It's a
session.
whole
It's a
business
whole
now.
business. And I know that I can appreciate that people have like I lucked out with Cammy just being the way that she was, right? The
Hmm.
dog that I had before her, he absolutely could task. I was not healthy. I was probably in one of the least healthiest emotional chapters of my life. I was still on active
Hmm.
duty. I had come back from OIF2. I was not in a good place emotionally. I was doing some wrong, unsafe shit. And
Hmm.
he like knew when I was having a nightmare, he'd wake me up, right? He would jump on the bed. He never slept on the bed, but he would jump on the bed and like lay on top of me. He was this like 85-pound boxer, and he would just lay on my chest. And, if I was getting agitated or I was getting stressed out, he would come over and he would bump me with his nose and he'd drop a toy or, there was a component where he just was tuned into me instantly.
He was redirecting you, Christina.
He really was. And it was fantastic. And it really helped me in a way that like I don't think I really understood.
Yeah.
And so I get it and I get the power of it. And he just kind of did it without like that was just inherent in who he was as a
Yep.
canine.
Yep.
And I think there's so much benefit to it, but people are doing it wrong. And they're doing
They are.
themselves a disservice and they're doing the canine a disservice. And then they wind up with you going, oh my God, we're in crisis right now. Please help.
Hmm.
Or they
Hmm.
wind
And
up in PetSmart going, my dog
hmm.
bit somebody, please help. And
Hmm. Hmm.
that's a whole
And
other.
even so, I tapped out I just tapped out, dropped the mic at a service work maybe 12 years ago. Then it was, you're buying a dog, 50K was sometimes the investment. When I started to see these prices, I said, what the hell is going on? Because there is a way to train a service dog, and all it is bonding and neutrality. That's all you're looking for. You're looking
Hmm.
for a canine that can understand your need, the
Yep.
job. The
Yep.
neutrality is being able to sit in the middle of a field in a busy world, let it move around them, and they sit still.
Hmm.
That's what that is. But what really started to break me down was the methods they were beginning to use, because service dog training was always connection based training. It was mild mannered game show hosts, hey, that's from, or yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And then when I started to see the e-collars, the prong collars, it was always a back clip harness. Service dogs were able to still have a family, have fun, not look like they're walking the end of the line out
Right.
at a store, don't ever look at anything. And then when they get home, same thing. You know, and that started to break my spirit, when I would see it. And some breeds are used for a reason.
Hmm.
Labs, Goldens. I mean, Shepherds were used, but particularly Labs, Goldens, because of the temperament,
Right.
because of the level of patience and detection skills that they have,
Hmm.
because of the ability to retrieve and go and grab things, medication, things you need, inhalers.
Hmm.
And we just started this fuckery of, oh, I got a big ass Doberman and a Saint Bernard. I'm like, mm,
A
I'm not
one-eyed pit
judging.
bull.
Yeah, right. I'm not judging, but what you're doing is you're suppressing so many genetics in some of those breeds that are not capable of sitting still in
Right.
every scenario, like a
Right.
German Shepherd.
Right.
So what
Can
they're
you
doing
hear
with
him barking? Or I'm not barking. Can you hear him chewing?
no,
Oh, okay.
no,
Because he's like chewing on his bone and it's right up against the wall. And so
no, I
if
had to like move my little thing with my iPad on it because Apollo's like doof, doof. Like anything to be a part of something. There's
yeah,
all this room. Boom. I just
yes.
want you to know
He
I'm
is
still here.
right next to my desk. We have the basement extent. He could go all the way down there if he wants. He has a bed back here. He has a cage over there. This motherfucker's right next to me.
I got one on the right and one on the left of my feet with all this space. And that's it. Connection. They're
Yes.
connected to us,
Yes. He
right?
just wants to be with me.
Yes,
I got
that's
to be
it.
where
And
mom is.
that
Yep.
is completely okay. But they're also independent enough to move freely throughout your home and not sit under your
Yes.
heel all day. So they're not
Yes.
codependent.
Right.
You know what I mean? They're
Yep.
they're they're confident, but when they feel we need it, like you and I have both had very long days,
Yes.
and they're like, hey, let me fill you up.
Yep.
They're tasking. Let me fill you up.
Yep.
I'm here if you need me. But yeah, the service industry, it is now unregulated. Before it was so many rules,
Hmm.
so many things to do. Now they say as long as there's proof that your canine can task, there's no other questions we ask. And so now they're hurting people's pockets. And so now these so-called trainers are scrambling, like, how can I get a service dog for someone faster for the low, for the cheap? And so let me go ahead and put an e-collar on your dog, a prong collar on your dog. Let me still alpha roll your dog, and we're going to suppress your dog into submission.
Hmm.
So now you see a bunch of depressed dogs walking around these stores. And I said, me being me, hey, I'm my own flavor of crazy. It is what it is. I put my life on the line sometimes, just talking to randos. Hey, excuse me, ma'am. I mean, what was that? Maybe Target, I think. Uh, and I'm like, are you using an e-collar for that service dog? Because all decked out with all the things,
All the
labels
things
everywhere, and
everywhere.
this was a big old Doberman,
Mm.
prong collar, choke chain, and an e-collar,
Why?
all thick on the neck. That tells you this dog is not qualified genetically. Like
Isn't
if you got
qualified
the
behaviorally if you have to control him
behaviorally,
that way.
yeah, if you have to. And there's something about that need that he was triggered. That's a guarding breed. So there's something about that trigger. He's also, some of them are prey driven.
Hmm.
So it was something that triggered a behavior that made you feel in a genetic behavior, Christina,
Yep.
not an aggressive behavior,
Nope.
the way he communicates as a Doberman.
Yep.
There was something about what he did that you didn't like. So it's suppression. You're forcing him to submit. It could have been a man walking up on you from behind in a
Hmm.
store. It's what the fuck he's supposed to do.
Right.
That's why you should have a golden or a lab. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
again, I'm not judging, but I'm just being real.
Yeah.
Like we are in a state of fuckery when it comes to service animals and emotional support animals.
Yep.
We have to stop the noise. It must stop. It's just, yeah, it
And,
just must stop.
and I think it gives people an excuse, and I'm speaking from a therapy side, right? Like if you have diabetes and you need a service dog to go get you insulin, that cool.
Yeah.
But specifically from like the PTSD or the anxiety side of the house, just getting a service dog does not mean that like you don't have to go to therapy. Because again,
No,
it goes back to the point of like that dog's going to come task for you. He's not going to come up to you and like calm you down. There's a
no,
ton of research, and I get this, that supports the grounding of like petting your dog and, snuggling with them and that connection and blah blah blah. And I agree and support with all of that. And if you're having a panic attack, petting your dog is not going to stop the panic attack. You have to
no.
have the skills internally to recognize that you're in this attack until you're not in the attack anymore. And
That's right.
so you're in it until you're not. Fucking
Mm,
roll out, right? Do your coping
mm-hmm.
skills, do your tapping if you need to, or, your vagus nerve activation or your somatic body work. And if you don't know what that is, go to fucking therapy and find out, because that
Yeah.
works. It works.
Yes.
And it drives me nuts. I've had several clients who have said, like, I had this one client in particular who I remember just going, he's going to be my therapy. He's going to be in therapy with me for the rest of his life. Like, and
Mm.
not in like a judgmental way, but just in like
No, no, I get it.
the depth of like what we're dealing with, similar to Winky, right? His trauma is intense.
It's deep.
You're stuck with us for forever. So there's that. But and we're
He's a whip. Work in
he
progress. He's a whip.
he definitely is. But there's so much work that still needed to be done. And the minute that he was awarded his service dog, I was like, fantastic. Let's bring him into session and we'll do work together. And he's like, no, I'm good. Thanks though. I'm all set and I don't need you anymore because I don't remember what the dog's name was, but I've got dog, right? And so I'm good. And I was like, but you're not.
You're
Like
not.
you're not.
No.
And I think people sometimes forget to your point, yes, the dog can task or the dog is emotionally supportive and they snuggle or they play. It's that unconditional love that we get when we come home. And if we don't believe that we are deserving of that unconditional love, or if we don't
Mm,
believe that the animal that we're interacting with is a tool, right?
mm,
Yes, they're a family member. Yes, they're a loved one. Yes, we care for them, but they're also a tool.
mm-hmm,
It's like you have a panic attack and you pop an Ativan. Great. It's
mm-hmm,
going to help that one panic attack in that
mm-hmm,
moment, but it
mm-hmm.
doesn't fix why you were panicking in the first place.
No, no. And I think that another misconception, as you mentioned, like people need to understand that's this it's a two-part thing. When you're dealing with trauma and you're maybe bringing a canine in to help you to get through it in a physical way.
Mm-hmm.
They can't help you get through it in a mental way all the way, meaning
Right.
you still got to do your taps. A dog
Yep.
can't tap it for you.
Nope.
You still have to get certain questions asked to make
Yep.
sure you're staying on track. They can't ask you questions.
Yep.
They can't answer you. And I think one of the things that I find, even in, believe it or not, yes, hear this out. This is truth. People with service animals come to you with behavioral issues with their service animals. Because sometimes, as you said, that research, it's true to an extent.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, when you pet your dog, it releases endorphins in you that are
Sure does.
positive, right?
Sure
I get it, but
does.
guess what? That dog might not want you fucking touching him right now.
Right.
So what happens then?
Right.
So what happens when, hey, I was in the middle of something, but you don't feel good, and I'm doing something right now, and I give you a
Right.
that is how we get back to that super silly circle of they only do a job. They're not allowed to play. They're not
Mm-hmm.
allowed to get interaction with anyone but you.
Yep.
So guess what? You suppress all of the dog. You
Yep.
take all of their wilding away.
Yep.
You suppress genetics. You suppress the learning. You keep them in one type of environment. You force the self on them, trauma of their own now because they have to shrink and be quiet, metaphorically speaking.
Right.
And just sit here and let me fucking pet you.
Right.
And that's not service dogs. That's not. If you look at some of these search and rescue teams, ones that have been in the rubble, 9/11, Hurricane Katrina, Helene, and the list goes on. Those dogs go do dock diving when they're not on duty.
Yep.
They are throwing a ball.
Yep.
But look how they can go together.
Yep.
Come together when it's time to do a job.
Yep.
They know when it's game on.
Yep.
But they can go home and hang up that harness and be free.
Yep.
So there still should be consent in service dog handlers,
Right.
emotional dog handlers, guardians, owners, whatever you want to call it. Because when you're paired with the dog, you now become their handler,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you still should have respect and you still should ask for consent. They can't show up for you every time. I don't give a hell what you got.
Nope.
And unless you're forcing it and that's all they know to do because they're dead inside, there's no more dog left.
Right.
It's just a tool left.
Yep.
That's the only way you're going to always get that pet. To me, go like get a fucking stuffed dog. I don't know. Go, you know what I mean? Like
Well, they're
it's
making
just
like those like animatronic females now for men to buy because they can't the male loneliness epidemic or whatever the fuck it is. So maybe they'll
did
just
not know that.
transition. Did you not know that? That's gonna
No.
look, I am dying to talk to somebody about this. So apparently there's like a company, I think Japan does it, Korea does it. All of the Asian countries that are like light years ahead of us in technology have created, and it costs like $10,000 or $20,000, but they will make like a animatronic doll, like a
Yeah.
female to your specifications that like you like plug in and unplug, and like she talks and walks and like does whatever you want her to do, and you could buy her and like have a partner. They're sex dolls essentially.
Oh my God. I'm taking this AirPod out. Technology is crippling us.
It's
I
fixing the
get it's
male
taking
loneliness
us
epidemic,
further.
Adia.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
it's an
think
epidemic.
it's taking us further, but
It,
it's like it's taking us away from human connection,
yes,
communication. I have,
yes.
Christine, I have three kids, you know, three adult children, because I don't give a hell what nobody say. Yeah, they're out my house, but they're still always in my pocket.
Hmm.
They have no clue about life. And some of them have their own children. I'm like, you can't count change. You need a digital clock. It's technology. I'll say, hey, don't text me when you're in the house visiting. Come and say something. You know what I mean? Like this
Yeah,
technology thing. Me and you we're not old, but we're older.
we're a little
You
old.
know,
I feel
and I'm
old.
cool with it. I'm
Yeah.
cool with it.
Yep.
I still like a pen and paper. Yes, I still read books.
Yep.
Yes, I don't listen to everything. I still take notes.
I have a paper calendar that
Yes,
that
I
literally
do.
runs my whole life. Yep.
Yes, I'm checking boxes all day.
Yep.
I prefer a phone call over a text
Oh
message.
no, don't call me. Please don't. Holy shit, do not call me. Just text me. I
Oh.
I talk to people all day. I'm not trying to sit on a phone with this thing connected to my
Well,
ear and
let me reiterate. I prefer conversations with people that are big parts of my life because I don't
fair.
talk to. I'm like you. I
Yeah.
disconnect. We talk to people all day long. I'm on the other side of a computer screen,
Yep.
or every now and again in person, or I'm holding a class, a workshop. So my mouth is always moving, and lo and behold, I don't like people. Hence my shirt. Like I tolerate them,
Yep.
because of the disconnect that we now have
Yeah.
as human beings. And part of my work, like yours, there may be a discernment for you about some of the things you hear, like the fuck, and that's the same thing for me when I hear people. Again, no judgment. We're
Right.
human, and it's my reaction and my response.
Yeah.
And when I hear that you're just beating the shit out of your dog and you want to stop hitting him and start training him, sometimes I do want to just choke the shit out of the owner. Fair enough, or tell him to just get out and give me the dog.
Yeah.
But can't do that.
No.
Got to do my job,
Yep. And
you
I think
know?
that speaks so heavily to the importance of like there been times when I wanted to like toss him out of a window a thousand
Hmm.
percent, right? I will
Hmm.
own that like a Ferrari. Like he tests my patience.
Hmm.
And especially in the
Hmm.
beginning and less so now, like before I got on here with you, his best friend was outside. And so he is
Oh,
just
Blue.
telling him all about his day, right? And I went upstairs, I was like, Bud, you talking to Blue? What's going on? And he like looked at me and kept barking. I'm like, tell him all about your day, right? And Blue's just out there with his ball. Could give a shit that Winky's barking at him, right? He's just living his best giant schnauzer life. Um, and I think back to like old Christina, right? And old Winky, from 2 years ago, from 3 years ago. Um, I, there was that fear that came with
Mm-hmm.
it, right? And I think that's a lot of people's concerns, right? They go to the pound or they go to the SPCA or they go to a rescue and they see this one-eyed dog and they're like, this is an emergency placement because he needs all of this super help, right? And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
And they want to rescue, right? And they want to save and they want to, which I think is admirable and amazing. And please rescue, please do not. I mean, I have owned dogs from breeders. Please rescue, like, please
Yeah,
rescue.
we're in a bad place right
We
now.
are in
Adopt, don't
such a
shop.
bad
We're not
place.
judging you to go get a dog from a breeder,
Right.
but we need the breeders
But
to take a pause,
we
a
need,
beat,
yes,
time out.
yes,
We
find
need to
another
catch
stream
up.
of revenue, please,
Yes,
because
stop
yes.
pimping these dogs out.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yep. No, I agree. And because it's doing damage to the
It
dogs
is.
and to the line and anyways.
Yes, everything.
But I think back to like my reaction to him and it wasn't regardless of like the connection and the interaction, it wasn't healthy for me.
Mm,
Right. And I think sometimes, we think we're doing this great thing, right? Oh, I'm adopting this dog. And then you get this mess of a four-legged living, breathing, traumatized entity, and you don't know
hmm
what to do with it. And I'm a fucking trauma therapist. And I knew that. I knew it. I knew it, right? And I was like, okay, we're gonna do this, and I can
You
fix
got
this. I
this.
do this with
Yes.
people. I could do this with dogs, and I couldn't. I could not. And it didn't matter how much I knew, or how much I thought I knew, or the intent behind my actions. There was a lot of stuff that was going on that was really activating me and really
Yeah.
stressing me out that I don't think that I really had a solid understanding of.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I remember there was this one day where I don't even remember what happened. He did something. And I remember, oh, I know what it was. He ate a, goddamn, okay. So he was obsessed with the Christmas tree. This is the first Christmas I ever had him, right? So he had been with me for like 6 months. And he was like over by the tree and he was like nuzzling the tree, right? And so I like snapped and I was like, come over here. And he's like, okay. But he's like chewing something. And I was like, oh God,
Mm,
what is he chewing? Right. Cause
yeah.
I swear to God, he's got pica. So I like crack his mouth open, right? Cause I'm like fishing inside, like looking for whatever is in there. And there was nothing in there. I'm like, you fucking swallowed it. So then I'm like looking and I saw a Christmas ball that was laying on the ground, but the metal prong thing that like goes inside to
Ooh,
like hang it on the tree.
yes.
I couldn't
Yes.
find it.
Oh,
And I was like, oh my God, it's gonna perforate his fucking abdomen and he's gonna
yes.
die.
Yes.
So it was like at night, right? So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna make him throw it up. So I shot some hydrogen peroxide into his mouth because I know that makes dogs throw up, right? Because they don't have a gag reflex. And so he throws up and he throws up all sorts of stuff, and none of it is this little thing. And I'm like, oh my God, it's stuck inside of his stomach. I am like apoplectic, right? And I remember like he's throwing it up, and he obviously, and I think this is inherent with dogs, they puke and they look at you like they've done something wrong. And it's like,
Yes.
you didn't, like, you can't help that. I can't help when I have
Mm-hmm.
to throw up. I'm not going to be mad at you for throwing up, carpet or no.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just like looking at me with like his eye was like huge and like he was just unhappy and miserable. And I felt bad because I had made him miserable. And I was also afraid that like his abdomen was gonna, get stuck into by
Mm-hmm.
this metal piece and he was gonna die. And I like lost it. And I was like, God damn it, Wakey. And I'm crying, right? I am like sobbing. And I was like, God damn it, man. I'm like yelling at him. And he like cowered and peed. And that was the moment where I was like, I am not well. And I am
Yeah.
scaring the shit out of him. And it's because I was scared.
Yeah.
Right? I wasn't even angry at him. I was petrified that this dog that I love and that I'm trying to like save and rescue and make healthy and,
Protect. Yeah.
protect has never had a good life until he was with me. I'm convinced of that. And
Mm-hmm.
like now I'm failing him, right? And so I had all of
Mm-hmm.
these like internal messages of like I failed him because I put the Christmas tree up in the first place and I should have known
Mm-hmm.
better. I could not have known.
Mm-hmm.
I put decorations up on the tree that I should have known he would have eaten, or I wasn't watching him enough, or all of those things. And
Right.
even as a trauma therapist, knowing these things about myself, knowing that I have the tendency to beat myself up over stupid shit, knowing that I
Mm-hmm.
have perfectionistic, parts of me that need to be perfect in everything in order to feel
Mm-hmm.
worthy, I'm looking at this
Mm-hmm.
dog who just was doing dog things.
Yeah.
And the moral of the story is I brought him to the fucking 24-hour vet. I paid like $600 for an x-ray. And do you know, Adia, there was nothing in his goddamn stomach?
I didn't think there was. Just think he lost the thing when he took the ball.
Do you know
But she
where
wanted to be sure.
I did? And I searched.
Safety,
I was like
sorry.
on my hands and knees searching for this metal piece, right?
Hmm.
Searching for it, convinced it had fallen down. It was in his stomach, it's something. I don't know where it is, but it wasn't in his
Hmm.
stomach.
Hmm.
$600 for nothing. And I just remember they came out and they're like, there's nothing in there. And I was like, where's this piece? Ah, right. And I was like,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
awful. And so, but I think back to that and how as much as I even now, right, think that like we have a handle on our shit when
Hmm.
presented with, there he is. When he's doing his
Hey,
back rub.
my buddy.
Yep. Yep. Doing okay, bud? Yep. Okay. He ripped apart one of his stuffies earlier, and so
Fun.
he's now chewing on the stuffing again,
Yeah.
which is fine. That he can
Yeah.
chew.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think, it's such a reflection of how we have the ownership on ourselves to manage ourselves because as much as he is emotionally supportive and as much as I love him and as much as he's a snuggler and he loves me and he attends to me,
Hmm.
excuse me, I have the responsibility as his guardian to also maintain my own shit. And I
Oh
think a
my
lot of times
gosh.
people we just don't. We just think, oh, the dog will do it or I'm fine. And that's not the case.
Oh my gosh, that's riveting. So I'm stealing that. That will be one of my podcast topics. As guardian, because my shit is raw. As guardians, you must own your own shit.
Yep.
Yes. And you bringing that up is a beautiful thing because you got to check yourself before you wreck your dog.
Hmm.
Remember that song? Chickity, check yourself before you wreck
I
yourself.
love that
Remember
song.
that song?
Yes.
You know what I mean? But you got to check yourself before
Yep.
you wreck your dog. And
Yep.
as you mentioned, in that moment, I was concerned.
So
I was
petrified.
worried. I was
Yes.
scared. I'm
Yes.
supposed to protect him. It's my
Yes.
job.
Yes.
But you should have, like with children, like one of the things I say, just let me back up for a second. One of the things that I say about emotionally intelligent guardians, this will be one of the most emotional and mentally sometimes draining jobs is cohabitating with the dog besides parenting.
Yeah. I don't know about
So,
parenting. That
yeah.
ship sailed a
Oh,
long time.
girl.
I stayed it
I love
out.
my kids, but I'm so glad.
Nope.
Goodbye. See you
Nope.
later.
Nope.
Don't come back. I'm joking. Hit the road, Jack. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. But I'm saying that to say I can do dogs, I guess, because they don't talk back. You know, them damn kids, they get mouthy. You want to smack. What the fuck did you just say?
Yeah,
I'm
Winky has
that
never
parent.
said fuck you to me.
Yeah.
He's looked at me
Right.
like that,
You
but he's never
fucking
actually
bitch.
said it. Yep.
Or look at some of these kids saying to
Yep.
their parent, you
Yep.
fucking bitch, I hate
I
you.
hate you, Mom. He's never
Let me
said that to
tell
me.
you. Let me tell you. I didn't beat my kids, but I will smack the shit out of you. You will never. That's how I was raised. That's why when we came up, we got gripped up.
Yep.
Don't say that. Yes,
Yep.
ma'am. No, sir.
Wooden
Now the
spoons in the
kids, what?
purse.
Wooden
Yep.
spoon, go pick a switch.
Yep.
You know, pick your go pick your whooping. Okay. But it just made us more stable and I guess you can say compliant
But
adults. We can
also
follow
but
rules.
it also traumatized the shit
I
out of
was
us.
yeah, I was scared. I'm not
Always
getting in
scared.
trouble.
And I think
You
that speaks too to like the old school style of dog ownership, right? Was
Yes, you're supposed to
you
make
are
them
an
scared.
ownership of this animal. I can't
Yes.
own, I mean, sure, am I financially responsible for him? Yes. Can
Yeah.
somebody take him from me? Sure. But like,
Hmm.
well, they have to pry him out of my dead fucking lifeless fingers, but
Right. They
motherfucker can
can
try.
try.
They can try. Um, so, but I think that speaks to, yes, was I I'm going to say beaten as a kid? Sure. Was it
Hmm.
abusive? No. Did
No.
it fuck me up a little bit? Absolutely. And I think that speaks to like how that old school style, and my last two dogs were like that, right? I was the
Hmm.
alpha. There were takedowns. You come at me, I'm going to put you on your back and I'm going to bite your throat because that's the way I was taught,
That's what
right?
yep.
Right. And I
Hmm.
think that we are now finding, as we are finding with humans, that there is a way to set those rules. There is a way to
Mm,
set healthy boundaries
mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
yourself, for your kids, for your environment that don't include wooden spoons in the purse
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
picking out a switch or a belt
Mm-hmm.
buckle or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. So,
Yeah. And I think to that point, when you just said we were scared into doing the right thing. That's why our generation is more successful,
yep.
more obedient,
Yes.
right? And it's the same thing for the dogs. We were taught to scare them into submission, scare them into being obedient,
Hmm.
scare them into doing the right thing. But the disconnect with that, or the lack of information or knowledge in during those times where we don't smell like them.
Right.
We can't be like them. So what you become is this big scary thing that is can never be on my level.
Hmm.
You can never be an alpha. You can be a leader.
Yep.
I can stand next to you. We can police this shit together.
Right.
So that is where we went wrong.
Hmm.
We wanted to scare them into submission, but they looked at us with fear,
Right.
or they retaliated because, well, you're not one of me.
Right.
You're not doing that shit. Or, oh, I'm so scared of you because you're so big. And so that's one of the parts that just a missing piece of that old school puzzle.
Right.
But now where we are, when we talked about checking yourself, people, they say, what? Listen, Linda. Listen, Linda.
Linda, listen.
Right. You have to step into guardianship, or call it owning a dog, being a service dog, owner, handler, whatever you want to call it. You cannot continue to apply pressure to the throat of your dog.
Right.
And what you're doing, your knees on their throat,
Hmm.
or you have them in that alligator roll, or you have their head pinned to the ground with every forced pet, every high expectation, not providing an outlet, knowing that they read your emotions times 10 of another human. So when you were sitting there bawling and crying, I'm scared, your dog pissed himself
Hmm.
because he took that shit in times 10.
Yep.
He took the weight of all of that twofold.
Yep.
I want to help her. And then what did I do?
Right.
So now I'm worried.
Yep. And
You
he
triggered your
also doesn't
dog.
feel good because
Yeah.
I made him throw up.
Yeah, he's sick.
Yep.
You triggered him, like, am I going to go away again? When people yell like this, that means I
Yep.
go away.
Yep.
So understand that, again, we go back to that human emotion, mental stability, instability is very similar human to canine. Guys, hear us out. It's
Yep.
very, very similar. So when we say take a pause, take a beat, as if your kid was in the room.
Yep.
If you got to regroup, digress,
Yep.
step off your soapbox, whatever. You never argue with your spouse in front of your children, or you try not to. Same thing for the dog. Because I know mine, you and I have talked about it. When me and my guys are at odds, they show up for me every time and be like, you better not even come over here.
Yep.
And this is a man they love.
Yep.
But that is where we have that connection. They know who their leader is.
Yep.
The one they've imprinted on.
Yep.
So my dysregulation and my nervous system, knowing I didn't have good energy for that person.
Yep.
They got my 6, my 7, my 8, my 9, my
Yep.
10. They're all around me.
Yep.
Hey, my God, don't come over here.
Yep.
She's not well. And
Yep.
so those of you wondering, like I get the calls, my dog bit my boyfriend, my husband in the face, or my dog bit him because I'm like, well, what happened?
Do?
What did
Right.
he do?
Right.
That's my first question. It's never, oh, the dog's aggressive. The dog will never bite for no reason. Right. So my first question is always, what did he or she do? The person, the human.
Yep.
And we were arguing, your dog protected you.
Yep.
He protected you in that moment, and all he has is bark, bite, and body language.
Yep.
If the body language coming across, your husband wasn't looking at that. He was growling. Your husband didn't give a fuck. And so then he needed to step up or shut up.
Yep.
And he went to touch you, and he got him.
Yep.
So check y'all shit.
Yes.
If your dog just bit your kid that you were just yelling at, or bit your spouse, or bit your nanny, or whomever, your dad
or
walking in the door, you bit you. It is communication.
Yep.
Too many dogs are losing their lives for using one of their parts of communication. And all the other shit, you suppressed it. Don't growl. Don't show teeth.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Don't bark. What do you got left?
Yeah.
Just to fucking bite you.
Yep.
You left him with that. So we have to regulate ourselves, own our shit, take a beat because it's affecting our dogs. And I don't care what the breed is.
Yep.
Back to the golden, back to the lab, happy go lucky. I don't care. The
They're
best
so
temperaments in the
derpy.
world.
They're so
Like,
derpy.
I don't know. I just see them, they just try and they're just so
Yep.
happy.
Yep.
But it's like I have a client, real sidebar side story, e-collar training, took the dog, broke the spirit, came to me, of course, shut down, which is most of my work. Shut down. She won't eat. She won't do this. She's not herself since she came home. Went to remove the collar. The golden retriever bit her 54 times. And people will say, well, that's a mauling. No, that's a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
She went to take the collar off and the dog went to town. A lot of surface. So, she's,
Yeah.
and the dog is, just a lot of, they're fast as hell.
Yeah.
Dog, a lot of fast defensive bites. So yes, there's a Dunbar bite scale, level 1 to 5. I say there's nips before bites. Nips are warnings.
Yep.
So to me, it is what it is. I don't believe in the Dunbar bite scale to start. Now, if I bite you and I hold the fuck on and won't release and I'm trying to rip your arm off, yeah, you're level 5.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? But why?
Right.
How can a dog ever be labeled or categorized or how do you want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? How can you ever get a result from a fucking circle or a scale that somebody else made?
Yeah.
And this is the problem in my industry. These people who are in the trenches like me, doing the hard work every damn day, rehabilitating dogs that other trainers have fucked up, parents have fucked up because of YouTube, or Dr. Google or trainer Google, we have to step up. We have to push for regulation. Joe Blow next door can hang up a shingle and say he's a dog trainer. Then you see he's cheaper. Oh, I just let him take my dog. Will you let him take your fucking kid?
Right.
Like, I just don't get it. You don't know what's going on or what's happening to your dog for 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I say drive-through training. I'm going to McDonald's and I want a Big Mac.
Yep.
Your dog is the order.
Yep.
You pay them at window 1 and you pick up at window 2. Who
Yep.
gives a fuck how the burger got to the window?
Yep.
I don't care. Somebody could have spit on it, stepped on it,
Is it even real meat?
Took a shit on it, anything.
Right.
Like, seriously.
Right.
Yes, I'm being vulgar because I'm trying to paint a picture. You got to think of what happens between the windows.
Mm-hmm.
And people don't.
Yep.
The dogs come out worse than what they are. So that golden that's usually derpy, yes, 54 surface level bite wounds, or you could see the teeth marks, that could have been punctured. They were bruising.
Yeah.
And that is because all this woman did was reach for the collar because it died. Because she used it so much. The dog moves, shock. The dog looks, shock. The dog yawns, shock. And that's what these fuckers are doing.
Mm-hmm.
They turn it up.
Yep.
And just push the button.
Yep.
Anything you never want them to do, push the button. And for most people, they don't want them to do everything.
Yep.
And it's convenient. It's like garage door. Open the door.
Yep.
Close the door.
Yep.
And that has to stop.
Yep.
It must stop. And when I hear that excuse, well, I didn't know. I'm like, how didn't you know? What questions did you ask this person? And then now they're withholding information, Christina.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh no, we'll just keep it for 2 weeks. Well, do you use an e-collar? No.
Oof.
Like, and they are.
Oof.
And guess what? You get your dog back fucked up and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep.
There's no laws.
Yep. Yep.
You're out of $4,000 for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Give me $4,000. You with me for several months.
Yep.
We're learning together, but people want convenience.
They want convenience. Yep.
We live in a world of convenience,
Yep.
hence to drive-through training.
Yep. And I absolutely made that mistake with Winky. And part of it was like I needed it to be kind of like shoved down his throat.
Yeah. You needed it manageable.
I needed it manageable, but I also needed it to be an intensive, right? And I think at the time I looked at it like, well, I don't have the time to devote multiple hours, right? Because I'm working at the time. I was going to school, still going to school now, feels like forever. But like I was going to school, I was working full time, 2 full-time jobs, and I thought to myself, you know what, 2 weeks of like immersion training.
Hmm. And that's how people think about it.
Right. And that's
Hmm.
kind of how it was sold to me, right? And I got him back and sure, was he obedient? Yeah. Did he sit? Did he lay down? Did he get off of things? Did he learn how to shake? Sure. But like the dog that I have now, a thousand
Hmm.
times different.
Yeah. You walk the steps with them.
Hmm.
It's very different. And yes, they will give you back. That's why they say we give you guarantees. And if you go to these websites, we're going to teach your dog off leash. We're going to teach your dog to heel. We're going to teach her. We suppress into submission.
Hmm.
So I click the button, you do it.
Yep.
Okay, so do I have my bout of e-collar training skills? Yes. But I did it for a different type of dog. I did it for working dogs, police, military. I did it for that. But there is a way you do it. We teach the behavior we want to see.
Right.
There's not, you can't be on the list. There has to be an immediate response time if it's a bomb detection dog,
Right.
right? So when I give you a cue, whatever language that is, you have to do it now. I
Right.
can't have you take 30 to 45 seconds to process what I asked.
Right.
So if I teach you something and then you don't do it, guess what I then do? Quick, but I teach you everything I need you to know first. That's how it used to be done. Now, these people they contracting with, that's why these police dogs now are running away from their handlers. Military dogs are trying to get away from their handlers as well.
Hmm.
There was just a canine that drowned in a river by a handler's house, jumping the fence. They're keeping these dogs outside while they're in the homes. So many things have changed. They're using force and fear. Now I'm seeing more police canines and prongs, martingales, e-collars. They're contracting with the cheapest to take these dogs and scare the shit out of them.
Yep.
And that's why they are now turning, as people call it. No,
Yep.
they're crying.
Yeah.
And now they've seen an outlet. And I'm trying to take my shot. I'm shooting my shot.
Yep.
So and then if you think about it as you send this canine off to people that you don't know what they're doing,
Right.
you expect to get back this perfect dog, as they dub it, with that guarantee, right? They
Hmm.
sell it, the script's beautiful, it answers, it's all your hot buttons hit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So they're talking to your soul. You're like, once I get him back, I ain't gotta do shit.
Yep.
They did it all for me,
Yep.
but guess what the missing part is? Then now
Connection.
you expect, yeah, that. But then now you're expecting things from your dog that they can't give.
Right.
Why don't they want you to pet and they're hiding behind the couch?
Right.
Why are they scared of guests or peeing every time new people come in?
Right.
Why are they just sleeping in a kennel because it's where they were forced to sleep? They won't sleep on their beds anymore. I hear that. They won't even come get in the bed with me anymore. That bird cage and shit.
Yeah.
They'll put stuff over the kennel. That is one of the worst ways, one of the easiest ways to bring about anxiety in dogs. They can't see what they're hearing. Or withholding food.
Hmm.
Withhold food to get what you need. Or flood. I'm going to sit your dog in front of the big flimsy, what's those things for Christmas and Halloween? What's
Those like balloon things.
Yes. I think once my kids became adults, I forgot the name of everything. I don't decorate shit anymore. I don't do anything. Right. So it's the big things you buy for holidays
Oh, I
in
know
your
you're talking about, like
yard.
the big
What I'm talking
blow
about?
up things. Yeah.
Yes, the blow up things. And the dogs are like, what is that? So guess what this so-called trainer will do? We're gonna fix this shit. We're gonna go and sit lows in front of all the blow up things. Scaring your dog. We call it flooding. Scaring
It's
your dog
in the
into
therapy
submission.
world, it's called prolonged exposure therapy. And that shit drives me nuts. You're going to
Ah,
listen to the worst thing that ever happened to you over and over and over again on repeat until it no longer bothers you. Are you fucking kidding me? Are
that
you
does not work.
absolutely kidding me? All that's going to do is traumatize me more and
Even
then make
more.
me stuff it down inside as a survival instinct until I can't
Yep.
fucking tolerate it anymore, which
Yep.
is exactly what's happening to the dogs. And I
Yes.
think what people forget, or I maybe don't know, as we wind down our time tonight, I think what
Hmm.
people don't really realize is how much dog brain and human brain, we have the same midbrain.
Yes.
We have the exact same limbic system
Yep.
as every other goddamn mammal on the planet. Is
Yep.
it for our human brain vice a canine brain? Absolutely. but it is the same fucking hormones. Our sense of
Mm-hmm.
smell bypasses everything, goes straight to the amygdala, which is our fire hydrant or our
Yep.
fire alarm, right? It's the same thing
Yep.
for the dog. If our brain is predisposed to keep us alive, and so if we detect a threat, it is going to do whatever it needs to do to keep us alive.
Yes.
Same thing happening with dogs, and I think people don't realize that, like, we have the same fucking brain.
Yes. They're just on all fours and can't talk the way we,
Right.
we talk.
Right.
That's the only difference,
And if
you
you
know,
don't want
and
somebody shocking you in your neck, and or what tens uniting you in your neck or whatever, I hate
yeah,
tens units, or screaming and yelling at you or rubbing your
yeah,
nose in shit and piss, then why
yeah,
would you do that to a dog?
yeah. And you mentioned survive. That's all they were all bred to do was work and survive, but we are forcing them to survive a different way,
Hmm.
and it breaks my heart because there's so much that they do for us in so many ways.
All that
You
emotional
know, you know what
support.
I mean? You're right, right? And then like you even think about the breed restrictions. Oh, this dog can't be here, but think about a military installation. You were in military, you're a veteran. Oh, you can't have German Shepherds on base or
Nope, can't have
post.
pit bulls on
But
post.
right, but you see the canine unit with the German Shepherd. Oh, but he could work for you, but I can't have him in my house.
Hmm.
That shit trips me out.
Yep.
All these breeds that are banned and restricted, but they can go do a job.
Yep.
It just, yeah, man, this can be, I just want people to know if there's anyone that will be listening that needs to know that people like me, professionals like me are here. They exist. There are trauma therapists for dogs and their
Hmm.
guardians, believe it or not,
Hmm.
and I don't want people to feel they're stuck. Tried it all. He's broken.
Hmm.
Don't project. Don't think you've tried it all and stop working and showing up for that dog.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Um, but my number one message tonight to people is check yourself before you wreck your dog. Check yourself.
Yep.
Yeah.
A thousand
Yeah.
percent. And be ready to do the work with your
Yes.
dog.
Yes. Yes. And another thing, don't over rely. Don't create an expectation. Still allow them to have choice.
Hmm.
Still let them give consent.
Yep.
And let them be a dog even if they're service for you.
Yep.
Even if they're truly tasking for you as emotional support. Allow them to just wild a little bit. Take them out for some nature therapy, long line walks on trails. Just allow them to explore and get back to homeostasis in some form or fashion. Because when you don't, all you have is a dog that's screaming inside and just trying to survive every day of its life. They're not happy. It's not the good life that they get treats and
Right.
walks and pets. That's
Right.
not the good life for a dog. It's
Yep.
much more than that.
Yep. Well, Adia, thank you so much for
Yes,
joining
it
us.
was
I
a
think,
pleasure.
We want to thank you for tuning into this episode of Holding the Line with Got Your Six, where we are just a bunch of therapists who talk about the shit nobody wants to talk about. We hope you got something useful out of it. Stay tuned for more of our upcoming episodes every other week posted to our YouTube channel, Holding the Line GYS. If you want to help support our podcast, please like this video and subscribe to our channel and share this video with others you think may get something useful out of it. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, where we will post useful information, dark humor, and more of the shit nobody wants to talk about. Go forth and do magical shit, everyone.
I don't know how long because I don't have the timer thing, but I'm pretty sure we went longer than an hour, and it's fine because this is all important stuff that we want people to know. That,
Yeah.
and you and I get very chatty
Yes, we
when we are on together. So there's that.
yes. 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 So I'm gonna have you over at Behavior Matters.
Yes,
We're
I
gonna
would
have to
love
have you
that.
come on.
I would
Yes,
love
I
that.
think
Yeah.
that would be real good so we can
Yeah.
kind of get in that audience's ear and kind of share the same thing.
Yeah. Because again, this
But it
is we're intertwined with each other. We have the same
yes.
brain. We're doing it the same way. We just have words and opposable thumbs, and they don't.
Yes, that's right. That's it. That's the only difference. And they're even better than us in a lot of shit.
Yes, they are. The
They're
stuff,
better than us.
the stuff that Winky picks up on, I'm like, my dude, you have one fucking eye. What? How
Yeah.
did you see that? One eye. And he's
Yes.
like, he's out here like, I see it. Or actually, it's this way. I see it. I see it. I know it's out there. And I'm like, my dude, it's dark
That
out. What are you
270
doing?
degree peripheral works.
I'm saying,
Yes,
he's out there
yes, yes,
just, yeah.
yes. But thank you. This was big, and more need to step up and do this and have the platform to do it.
Well, we are gonna
Conversation needs to be had.
Oh, Blue must be outside again. I can hear him. Well, we are going to post all of your contact information in terms of how people can
Thanks.
reach you, including your
Yeah.
podcast link. So,
Yes.
I love the podcast, by the way. I finally finished the episode
Thank you.
yesterday. Yeah,
I'm just I'm
yesterday while I was putting my new desk together. So,
I'm just trying to stay here, just getting on there and talking. Right.
love it. Love it.
Right.
All
Well,
right.
thank you again.
Yeah, of course. Of course.